It was the last day of school, 8th grade that is, and when I arrived home at 2:45 I wanted to celebrate. My sister Julie, who was 2 years older, was staying overnight with a friend. My mother wouldn't be home from work until at least 6, and my father, whom I only vaguely remembered, had deserted us years ago to pursue whatever he was pursuing. My love of pantyhose began when I was 11, when I first tried on my mother's hose. The sensation of my legs and lower body encased in the smooth, silky fabric aroused something new. I fell in love with the snug feel of the pantyhose and the swish-swish sound that my legs produced as I sashayed about the house. My mother and sister were out for a couple hours that day, and I spent the entire time trying on different pairs. My sister and I had played dress-up before, but I had never ventured hose or tights or dressed in women's clothes when I was alone. I still don't know what drove me to try on my mother's pantyhose that day, but that event has proven one of the most important watersheds in my life. From that day forward, I indulged in the joys of wearing pantyhose at every opportunity, and fortunately there were many. My sister Julie was involved in a plethora of school activities, and my mother wore skirts and hosed to work every day, providing me with a large selection from which to choose. On the early summer day in question, I proceeded immediately to my room after arriving home from school. After removing all my clothes, I pulled on an oversized red t-shirt, then entered my mother's room and snatched a pair of black, sheer-to-waist leg sheer energy hose from her top dresser drawer. Back in my room, I sat on the edge of my bed and carefully slid my mother's hose up my legs, alternating from one leg to the other until my lower body from toe to waist was comfortably encased in nylon. I had become quite proficient at putting on hose over the past few years, and the sensation of silky nylon sliding across my skin never failed to excite me. I stood up to admire my legs encased in the black shimmering fabric, turning and twisting to admire them from every angle. My t-shirt fell past my hips to mid-thigh, such that one could almost say I was wearing a dress, which likely explains why I often chose that particular t-shirt to wear when I was wearing hose. Thinking I had 3 hours of uninterrupted pantyhose bliss ahead of me, I headed downstairs to the family room to lay on the couch and watch TV for a while. Disaster struck shortly after 4. My mother normally parked in the garage and entered the house through the back door adjoining the kitchen and garage. The family room in which I was lounging on the couch in my pretty pantyhose was next to the kitchen, while my room was upstairs at the opposite end of the house. I would hear her parking the car in the garage long before she entered the house, so I never worried much about being caught. When I heard my mother's heels clacking against the hardwood floor in the entry hall, my first impulse was to make a run for it, but there she was, already entering the family room. She must have come in the front door. "Hello," she said, stopping just inside the family room. "Have a good last day of school?" It was okay. I was struggling to stop my voice quivering. My nylon-clad legs were concealed by the back of the couch, so as long as I stayed on the couch and she didn't advance very far into the room, I would be okay. "I thought since your sister is away for the evening, you and I might go out for pizza." "That sounds good." I tried to stay focused on the television, hoping she would think I was bored with the conversation and go away. I was so frightened though that I couldn't follow the program at all. "You don't seem very enthused. Are you feeling okay?" I heard her steps as she approached the couch. "I'm fine, Mom." "Really?" Despite my assurances, my mother continued toward the couch and my secret. Caught. Dead. History. Nothing to do except wait for the inevitable when she reached the couch and looked down on my nylon-clad legs. She reached up to feel my forehead, which I'm certain must have been cold and clammy from sweat, when she stopped abruptly and stared directly at my legs. "What are you wearing?" she exclaimed. Her eyes jumped from my legs to my eyes, then back to my legs. "Are those my pantyhose?" "Yes," I managed. My deep shame swelled from the pit of my stomach. I wanted to puke. My mother breathed deeply as she regained her composure. I expected her to explode with a screaming fit, ground me for life, or rip the hose off my body and spank me till I cried, but instead she calmly stepped around the end of the couch and took a seat next to me. She crossed her legs as she leaned into the cushions, causing the hem of her skirt to rise and expose her nylon-covered legs to mid-thigh. "How long have you been wearing my hose?" "A few years." You wear them whenever you're home alone? A lot of the time. Are you mad? No, darling, of course I'm not angry. She hugged me, then squeezed my knee. I couldn't have imagined a more accepting attitude. I couldn't believe this was happening. A mother and son, both wearing hose, sitting together and calmly discussing pantyhose was beyond comprehension. I'm just shocked and confused that something like this could go on so long without my knowledge. Is there anything else you do that I don't know about? No. Have you tried on my lingerie? Well, I did try on some of your slips once. Only once? I think so. My mother smiled knowingly. I didn't want to tell her how often I had worn her slips. There are some groceries in the back seat, my mother said as she stood up. Why don't you change clothes and bring them in? We'll talk more later. My mother went into her bedroom and closed the door. I changed clothes in my room and threw the hose into the clothes hamper in the bathroom. After I put the groceries away, I returned to the couch. My mother was in her room for a long time. I thought I heard her talking, so I assumed she was on the phone. We went out for pizza after she came out, then watched a movie together, Lord of the Rings, when we came home. I think she was trying to be nice to me as she's not a big fan of the movie. Neither of us brought up the hose incident during dinner or the ride to and from the pizza place. We seemed to talk about everything but the incident. When the movie ended, my mother motioned for me to sit next to her on the couch. I figured it was time for our talk. Jamie, I want you to know that I am not angry with you for what you were wearing. But I am angry with you for sneaking items out of my room. I understand why you didn't want to talk to me about this, and I hope you would have eventually brought it up. I sat with my eyes downcast, hoping that this would all end soon and wondering how long I would be grounded. Is there anything else you want to tell me? No, I said, shaking my head. You're not gay, are you? No, Mom. Okay. I'm sorry. I had to ask. Some moments of awkward silence passed between us. Do you still want to wear nylons? I'll stop, Mom. I promise I'll never wear them again. I didn't really believe that, and I'm pretty certain my mother didn't either. Even if I really wanted to stop, I don't think it would be possible. I had tried a few times and even managed to go days or weeks without indulging, but it never lasted. I want to make a deal with you. If you go along with it, I won't ground you and will overlook your dishonesty. Honesty was a big deal with my mother. What's the deal? I will buy you your own pantyhose and you will wear them every day, all day, for the rest of the summer. At the end of the summer, you can wear them or not. Your choice. But I think we will know by then how you really feel about wearing them. Are you serious? Yes. I wouldn't joke about something like this. The choice is yours. What if I say no? Then I will expect you to not be sneaking around in my clothes anymore, and we will need to determine how long you're grounded for your past behavior. I certainly didn't want to be grounded, which would likely mean no computer privileges, and getting to wear hose all the time sounded fun. But would she really make me wear them all summer? I had only worn them for a few hours at a time before. This would be 24/7. And what would my friends say? Not that I had all that many. Okay, I said. You'll wear hose all summer. Are you sure? As sure as I'll ever be. My mother smiled. I think that was the choice she wanted me to make. Well, I think it's time for bed. Can I stay up for a while and play on the computer? No. I think you should go to bed. It took a while for me to go to sleep as I kept mulling over the day's events and the choice I had made. What would my sister say? We were on good terms for teenage siblings, but... Jamie, wake up. My mother was shaking my shoulder as I opened my eyes. I'm going to the store for a bit. I want you to go take a shower. I'll be back soon. Okay. She smiled, then left. I could have easily fallen back to sleep. Then I remembered what was supposed to happen today and immediately sat upright in bed. I heard the garage door and the car. Was she going out to buy my hose? Did yesterday really happen? I threw off my covers and went into the bathroom. There was a note taped to the mirror and my mother's electric shaver and a bottle of body lotion on the counter. I took down the note and read, "Take a shower, then shave your legs with the shaver. Put some lotion on your legs when you get done. Love, Mom." I hadn't planned on shaving my legs. I showered and dried off. I didn't have a lot of hair on my legs. I never did like how my hairy legs looked while wearing hose, and it would grow back. I plugged in the shaver and took the plunge. This was a lot more work than I had expected. You never realize how much area your legs include until you try to go over all of it. Once done, I rubbed some lotion on them. I grabbed some underwear from my room and threw on a robe. Downstairs I drank some juice and ate a bowl of cold cereal. I was still sitting in the kitchen, wondering what was in store for me, when I heard my mother return. "Hello, Jamie. Did you do what I told you?" My mother was carrying 2 bags, one from the grocery store and one from a department store. I nodded. "Great. Let's go up to your room. I have some gifts for you." I followed her upstairs to my room where she dumped the contents of the bags on my bed. I counted 10 pairs of hose and tights and 2 oversized t-shirts, one light blue and the other pink. I got sheers and opaques, mostly in the styles I like. We can try some different styles over the summer. I also got you a couple sleeping tees. I think you'll find them more comfortable. Sorry for the colors, but that was all they had. She smiled at me. "These are all mine?" "Yes, they're yours. Don't tell me you've changed your mind." "No, I'm just kind of overwhelmed. Put these on with some shorts." She handed me a package of sheer energy in suntan. "We need to go pick up your sister." "Don't worry. You can wait in the car." I took off my underwear and put on the brand new hose. I admired my legs for a minute. They looked smooth and soft, almost feminine. As long as no one saw my toes or looked closely, I didn't figure anyone would be able to tell, especially since there wasn't any hair matted against my skin. Shaving was a good idea. I put on some baggy shorts and a t-shirt, then grabbed some white socks. I met my mother at the door. She looked at my shorts and sneakers. Nice legs, but we'll have to get you some different shoes and shorts." "What's wrong with them?" "The look doesn't quite work." "Do you think people will notice?" "Not unless they get close." This was my first time outside the house in hose, and it certainly wouldn't be my last. The bright sunshine caused the hose to shimmer. I made for the passenger seat as quickly as possible without running. My mother smiled at me and patted my knee. "Don't worry. Just act natural." "Mom," I said after we were on our way, "how will we keep Mike and Todd from finding out?" Mike and Todd were the only people I would call friends. They were the only guys that I spent time with outside of school. We played computer and board games together or hung out at the arcade at the mall. Unlike my sister, I wasn't very popular. I guess most people would classify me as a nerd, shy and unathletic, but relatively smart. I certainly never refused to help a girl with her homework. I don't know. You'll either have to tell them or wear jeans whenever they're around." "I can't tell them. I'll be ruined." "They might be more understanding than you think. But we'll try to be careful." I doubted that they would be understanding. What about all of Julie's friends? What about them? If Julie tells them, it will be all over school. I think you will find most people have better things to talk about. My mother's assurances were not any consolation. Why on earth did I say yes to this? We stopped in the driveway of my sister's friend's house. My mother went to the door, and after a few minutes, my sister emerged carrying her backpack and a small black duffel bag. They put her stuff in the trunk, then got in the car, my sister in the back seat. We talked about what we did the previous evening on the ride home, but nothing was said about the hose incident. My heart was pounding, and I kept my hands on my knees. I was so worried that Julie would lean forward and scream, "Mom, Jamie's wearing pantyhose." Nothing of the sort happened. I headed for my room as soon as we arrived home. My sister wasn't paying much attention to me, and the garage is dark even during the day. I overheard my mother tell my sister that she needed to talk to her. I went to my room and closed my door. I was starting to think I should tell my mom I wanted to call this experiment off, but then I saw all those hose scattered across my bed. My hose. Yes, these were mine. Don't you want to try them? I asked myself. I sat down and started reading the various packages and looking at the pictures, all of beautiful legs encased in hose or tights. No, I was going to go through with this. This was my dream come true, wasn't it? A knock at the door brought me back to reality. "Jamie?" my mother asked. "Come in." My mother smiled. "Looking at your new hose?" "Yeah. I've never seen the packages up close." My mother sat down next to me. "I talked to your sister and explained the situation. I've told her that she is not to ridicule you. She was upset that you might have been wearing her underwear in the past. I told her that you had only been wearing mine. Is that true?" "Yes." "Good. Okay. Why don't you put your hose away in your dresser? You can move some of your underwear and socks into the empty dresser downstairs if you need more room." My mother hugged me, then left me alone. I took my socks and sneakers off. It felt marvelous to wriggle my hose-covered toes into the carpet, and my legs really did look great. I took all the hose out of their packages and put them away. When I got done, there was a pile of empty packaging next to a small pile of underwear and socks on my bed. I tried to read, but found it difficult to concentrate as I kept rubbing my legs together and caressing them with my hands. I wondered how girls avoided feeling this distracted when they wore hose. "Jamie, it's time for lunch," my mother called. I took a deep breath and headed downstairs to the kitchen. I couldn't avoid my sister for the entire summer, and my mother wouldn't let her ridicule me. My sister and I had a good relationship, but as with all siblings, there was a constant power struggle going on beneath the surface, and I was giving Julie a very powerful tool. Julie and my mother were making sandwiches. Julie's eyes roamed up and down my body as I entered the kitchen. She was smirking. "Hi, Jamie." "Hi, sis." "He's got legs," Julie sang. "Julie," said my mother. "You promised." "Sorry, Jamie. Your legs really do look cute in hose. Almost as good as mine." "That's enough, Julie." "I was being nice," Julie protested. "It's okay, Mom." "Thanks, Julie. I guess." That broke the ice, and the conversation moved to other topics helped by my mother. "Is it okay if I talk to Jamie about his wardrobe change as long as I don't make fun of him?" asked Julie. "As long as Jamie wants to talk about it." "So Jamie, can I talk to you about your hose?" "Sure, Julie." "Why do you like them?" "I like how the fabric feels on my skin. I guess they do feel kind of cool. I wouldn't want to wear them all the time though." "What are you going to tell Mike and Todd?" "I don't know yet. I'll probably just wear jeans when they're around." "You're not going to tell all your friends, are you?" "I think they'll notice when they come over, but I'll tell them to be nice to you. They'll probably think it's cute." Julie giggled. I was feeling better. Apparently Julie was not going to make my life a living hell for the summer. After lunch, I helped Mom load the dishwasher and played a computer game for a couple hours. I like the role-playing games, so it's easy to get lost in a game for hours. I even forgot I was wearing hose. I had to stop because my sister wanted to chat with one of her friends. I spent the rest of the day lounging inside. Mike and Todd were both on vacation, so I wouldn't have to deal with my friends for a couple weeks. When it was time for bed, my mother went up to my room with me. "Here," she said, giving me a mesh laundry bag. "Put your worn hose in here when you change them." "Okay." "Am I supposed to sleep in them?" "We did say 24/7. You'll get used to them. Wear one of your sleeping tees. It will be more comfortable." I undressed except for my hose and put on the light blue t-shirt which came down to my knees. I tossed and turned red for a while, then tossed and turned. Eventually, I fell asleep out of sheer exhaustion, wondering what the next day in hose would bring. My mother woke me on Sunday morning to tell me to get ready for church. She gave me some black opaques from my drawer to wear under my dress slacks. "We'll be having lunch with your grandmother today," she said as she left my room. I put my sleeping tee under my pillow, put the hose I had been wearing in the mesh laundry bag, and slid on the black opaques. They were not as opaque as I thought they would be. There was definitely a sheen to them, and my toes were visible through the fabric. Anyone taking a close look would be able to tell these were not men's socks. I had never worn hose with a control top before, but I liked the snug feeling. My pants never fit better around the waist, and the sensation of the pant legs sliding over the hose was sensual. I wondered why girls didn't wear hose with pants more often. I tucked in my patterned dress shirt. I usually did not wear a tie before heading downstairs for a bite of breakfast. My mother was drinking some coffee at the table. Julie was of course running late. "How did you sleep?" "Okay, I guess. Once I got to sleep. You'll get used it. Soon you won't even notice you're wearing them." "If you say so." My mother smiled. "Julie," she called. I hope she actually got out of bed. My mother headed toward Julie's room while I ate some cereal. Soon we were all in the car, my mother and Julie in front with me in the back. As we headed toward church, I realized that we were all wearing pantyhose. When we arrived, my mother and Julie headed off in different directions to talk to their friends before service. I drifted toward the sanctuary to wait for them. That's when I saw Megan. She is in my class at school and is the most gorgeous girl I know. I've had a crush on her for years. As usual, she was well dressed, wearing a knee-length blue dress, open-toed heels, and sheer hose. I always notice when a girl is wearing pantyhose. We said hello, then she moved on. I'm hopeless with girls. As I stood in the doorway waiting, I saw Julie conversing quietly with Samantha, one of her friends, whispering in her ear as they looked at me. Samantha was wide-eyed and smiling. I had no doubts about what they were discussing. I looked the other way and tried to act interested in the carvings in the woodwork. "Hi, Jamie," said Samantha. She then leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Are you wearing pantyhose today?" "Sam, don't be mean to him," Julie exclaimed. "I just asked him a question." "The answer is yes," I said. "Can I see?" asked Samantha. Fortunately, my dress shoes didn't tie. I slid my right foot out of my shoe and wiggled my toes. "I'm wearing hose too." Samantha smiled. "Your secret is safe with me." That's what Julie said. I couldn't not tell Sam. I think I would have noticed eventually. Now it's all out in the open and you won't have to sneak around when I'm over at your house. "You're not going to tell anyone else?" "I won't," chimed Samantha. "But I can't answer for Julie. I'm going to have to tell my friends Jamie." "Don't worry. A lot of girls will think it's cute," Samantha assured me. My mother arrived and we headed into service to sit with my grandmother. Samantha and her family sat on the opposite side, one pew back. When I glanced at her during service, she smiled and winked at me. Sam was a nice girl, but she had never paid much attention to me. I noticed many other women and girls in skirts and hose and felt very comfortable in mine. I wondered how many girls would know by the end of summer with Julie and Samantha talking. I was in the back seat on the way over to lunch with grandmother. "Mom," Julie told Samantha before service. "Told her what, dear?" "That I'm wearing hose." "Mom, I can't not tell my friends." She was nice about it. She was teasing me. "Okay, you too, cut it out." "Jamie, Julie's friends are going to find out whether you like or not." Julie turned to smirk at me from the front seat. "Does Grandma know?" "Yes, she does. She thinks it's a good idea. Grandma thought Jamie should wear hose all summer." "Yes, she did. This wasn't all my idea." I felt crushed. Even my grandmother was in on this. It was my fault though. I slid my hand up and down my thigh so I could feel my pants sliding against the hose. They certainly did feel good. When we arrived, my grandmother was in the kitchen heating some vegetables and dishing the main course out of a crock pot. We all left our shoes at the door. Anyone seeing my toes would surely notice that my opaque hose were much sheerer than socks. I laid back on the couch and thumbed through a National Geographic until we were called to dinner. My grandmother treated me like normal. No mention was made of my hose until we were eating German chocolate cake. "Well, Jamie, your mother tells me you're wearing nylons this summer." I noticed Julie put her hand to her mouth and swallow hard to stifle a giggle. My mother and grandmother were smiling at me. "Yeah," I mumbled. I thought it was a good alternative to being grounded. My grandmother nodded her approval. "Jamie," my mother began, "since Julie will be working at the mall every day and I'll be in the office, we've decided that it would be best for you to spend your days here with Grandma." I had been looking forward to this summer all spring. I would have the house to myself almost all day. "Really?" I managed to say. "Yes, really," my mother said. "I'll bring you over every day on my way to work, then pick you up on my way home." "Okay." I returned to eating my cake, hoping the conversation would change to something that wasn't so focused on me. Obviously, my mother didn't trust me home alone anymore. I couldn't really blame her, but all day with my grandmother? She doesn't even have a computer. I figured I would be done with the National Geographic collection in a week. What about when she goes out shopping or doctor's appointments? The rest of our visit was uneventful. My grandmother gave me a hug and said she would see me in the morning as we left. I tried to act cheerful about it. I really do love my grandmother, but this seemed like overkill. I changed to shorts, suntan hose, and a t-shirt at home. My mother and sister and I spent the day cleaning out the cupboards in the kitchen, something we do about every 3 months. My mother is a bit of a neat freak. "Looking forward to a summer with Grandma?" asked Julie. "I guess it will be okay. Kind of boring though. No sleeping in or playing computer games, huh?" I shook my head. "I'm sorry Samantha teased you. She wasn't trying to be mean. As long as she doesn't make it a habit." "Who else are you going to tell?" "Crystal and Amy will need to know." "How about you? Who are you going to tell?" I hadn't planned on telling anybody. "You're going to live in a cave all summer?" "I'll see how things go. Wearing the hose isn't bad. Actually, they feel good and I forget after a while. It's what's going to happen to my reputation that I'm worried about." Julie snickered. "Don't sweat it. I'm sure everything will be fine. You really do have great-looking legs now." Bright and early Monday morning, I was in the car with my mother on the way to my grandmother's house. She was dressed for her day in the office dress, heels, and hose, while I was dressed for my day with grandmother t-shirt, baggy shorts, suntan hose, socks, and sneakers. The night before I had shaved my legs again and they were looking silky smooth in my nylons. I was actually starting to like and appreciate this new look for my legs. Even though only my knees and shins were visible, I found myself admiring my legs. My mother noticed as well. "Like the way your legs look, sweetie?" "Oh, Yeah. I focused on the road and the houses. My mother chuckled. They do look very nice. I think a lot of women would be jealous of them. Are you wearing sheer energy? Yeah, I think so. I thought so. The light support will help to keep your legs healthy. My mother pulled into my grandmother's driveway and let me out. I'll be back for you a little after 5 o'clock. Bye. I walked to the front door with my backpack hanging from my shoulder. I was going to be reading a lot of books this summer. Maybe this wouldn't be so bad. Grandmother did make great chocolate chip cookies, and a diet of peanut butter sandwiches gets old fast. My grandmother gave me a hug and ushered me into her living room. Make yourself at home. I'll be off the phone with Gladys in a bit. I took my shoes and socks off and left them at the door before laying on the couch and delving into my computer gaming magazine. When my grandmother is on the phone, a bit usually means an hour or more, especially when talking to friends or family. I rubbed my feet together and over my legs as I read. This was a strange habit I was developing, but the sensation of nylon against nylon on my skin was exquisite. From the dining room I could hear bits of the conversation, which I easily ignored until I heard my name. Yes, Jamie will be staying with me every day. His mother is at work. I think so, all summer. No, I'll just have someone with me all the time. It's been a while since I've had someone tagging along. I'm sure he'll get used to it soon enough. Really, half price on Wednesday. I'll have to call Cheryl and change my appointment. Oh, I'll let her know the intelligence came from you. The conversation drifted off to something else, so I quit paying attention. I wondered what the appointment on Wednesday was all about. I realized that I had no clue what my grandmother did on a daily basis. Where would we be going? But, I reassured myself, it's not likely I would meet anyone from school, just other old people. My grandmother came into the living room eventually, sat down in a recliner, and started crocheting. She had drawers full of Afghans. I thought we might bake some cookies this afternoon. Does that sound fun? Yeah. I never pass up cookies. My grandmother always talked to me as if I were 2 or 3 years younger. Maybe that would change by the end of the summer. We ought to know each other a lot better by then. If you don't want to talk about it, I understand, but how are you feeling about wearing nylons? I put my magazine down and sat upright. I decided honesty was best. It depends on the situation, really. Sometimes I really like wearing them. They're so comfortable. Sometimes I forget I'm wearing them. And there are times when I don't like wearing them. I'm kind of worried about other people noticing and the word getting out. I guess I don't know what to think. I think you'll find that most people don't care what you're wearing. What's important is that you are true to who you are. People worth knowing will see and respect that. I know, but Julie has been telling some of her friends. Were they mean to you? No, not really. Just a little teasing. That will get old for them soon. It's best to confront your fears head-on. Do you like wearing hose? I don't know if I've ever seen my grandmother without them. My grandmother chuckled. At my age, I don't have much choice. I have to wear support hose to help with my circulation. My mom said this morning that they were healthy for my legs. Yes, they certainly can be if you're wearing light support. My grandmother stood up and headed for the kitchen. I better make sure we have everything we need for those cookies. Grandmothers, at least mine, always had a way of making you feel more secure about anything. Jamie, she called from the kitchen. You need to get your shoes on. We're out of chips and nuts. We were going to the store. I was going to the grocery store wearing pantyhose and shorts. I can just stay here, I suggested. No, we might as well get some groceries for the week. You can help. 20 minutes later, I was following my grandmother up and down the aisles of the local grocery store. I put the heavier stuff into the cart and reached items on higher shelves. I was certain that everyone would notice my hose, but remarkably enough, no one seemed to notice me. The rest of the day passed without incident. Tuesday was much the same. I read my books and magazines and talked to my grandmother. I told my mother and sister that it wasn't bad spending so much time with my grandmother. As for wearing hose, I was becoming more and more used to it, and as I relaxed, I enjoyed the sensation of nylon against my skin all the more. Wednesday started out the same as Monday and Tuesday. My mother dropped me off and I settled myself on the couch. 30 minutes later, my grandmother announced that we were going out. "I have a hair appointment at Cheryl's salon this morning," she said. "Perms are half price today." Cheryl was Gladys's daughter. I put my shoes and socks back on and tucked a couple magazines under my arm. I figured they would only have hair care and women's magazines. I stood behind my grandmother as the pretty receptionist took my grandmother's name. "Have a seat, Mrs. Clark. Susie will be with you in 5. The receptionist smiled at me as my grandmother moved toward a chair. "And your name?" the girl asked me. "Oh, I'm just here with my grandmother." "It's Jamie." "Jamie Stewart," my grandmother stated. "Oh yes, you're down for a manicure and pedicure. Lisa will be with you shortly." "What?" For a moment I couldn't speak or move. I looked at the receptionist dumbly. She smiled back at me. "You can have a seat. Lisa isn't quite ready for you. Over here, Jamie." My grandmother motioned me to a seat next to her. I sat down, still in disbelief. "What's going on?" "They're having a sale today and your mother and I thought you might benefit from a manicure and pedicure." "Why?" "Just enjoy it," my grandmother said, then whispered. "You'll be much less likely to snag your hose when they finish with you." I stared at the floor. There were 2 other women waiting, but I didn't dare look at them. After a few minutes, Lisa came forward and asked for Jamie. My grandmother smiled and told me to go ahead. Lisa smiled and led me back to her station where she told me to sit down, then looked at each of my hands. "Have you ever had a manicure?" "No," I answered, shaking my head. "I didn't even know I was going to get one." "Don't worry. Your nails will thank you when we're done. It's an unbeatable price today." I tensed when she started working on my hand. "Don't worry," she said. "I promise I won't cut you with the clippers. Just relax."